the Lord gave me an epiphany. It hasn't been this long ago. This might have been a couple of years ago, that every breakthrough in my life he brought to me. Okay? So I had lived this life of striving, got to work harder, got to make more sales calls, got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. And I just had this epiphany one morning in prayer where the Lord showed me all of the key breakthroughs in my life. I didn't go get those. None of them. They all came to me because of him. So a lot of times I think we press and strive and maybe even rush God when maybe things aren't time yet. I mean, we just need to kind of step back and listen and obey. And it's amazing how everything kind of works out.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Faith Ignite podcast, and I'm so excited you decided to take a few minutes out of your day to listen and have your faith built up and have your faith encouraged. And so before we jump into today's episode, I'm going to ask you to do a few things. Hey, if you're new to this channel, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. Hey, I would ask that you hit that like button, that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on so you are aware when new episodes are released, and that way you can stay connected. And then secondly, if this podcast or any of our other podcasts has helped you, we would ask that you consider becoming a partner of this ministry so we can be able to help take these stories around the world to the people that need them, because there's 7 billion people on this earth that deserve to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so by partnering with us, you can help us do that, exactly that. And then lastly, if something's going on in your life, we would love to know about it. Just go ahead and comment below, drop a comment, send us an email, reach out to us on social media. That way we are aware what's going on and we can stand in faith in agreement with you so the things that you're believing for can come to pass. And so now that we have all of that out of the way, we have a very, very important guest with us today. Our guest is very influential in the state of Oklahoma, but it didn't start that way. He originally is from Beggs, Oklahoma, and went to Oklahoma State University. And it was ironically at a dinner with the past OSU president that he, on a whim, decided that he was going to do banking. And it turned out to be the best decision he could have ever made. Our guest today has experienced tremendous favor from God, from being in executive level positions at a very young age to then going ahead to purchase a bank in 2008. He's experienced the favor of God. And when he originally purchased Regent Bank, it was a $72 million asset bank at that time. Now, today in 2026, I think it's over $2 billion, if I'm not mistaken. 2.1 billion, yeah. And so to see how his favor is evident in his life and in Regent Bank. And so our guest today, like I said, he's born and raised a native of Oklahoma. His family lives here with 3 kids and his beautiful wife of 23 years. And so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our guest, Mr. Sean Kouplen.
Thank you, Devon. That's it. That's all we got to say. I think we can wrap. You got it all.
Oh, man. Mr. Kouplen, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to just share with us. And like one way we like to start every podcast. Who do I have the pleasure of sitting with? Who is Sean Kouplen?
Oh, my goodness. I am as you said, a farm boy from Beggs, Oklahoma that for whatever reason, the Lord has decided to bless extraordinarily.
Yeah.
You know, first and foremost, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. Second, I love my wife and my kids with all my heart. And then third, we try to do a little business along the way and hopefully bring our faith along with us, you know, as we grow the bank. And I love giving back to the community. I love just supporting those that are trying to grow closer to Jesus. So this is right in my sweet spot right here, man.
Awesome.
It doesn't get much better than this for me.
So growing up in Beggs, and then at somewhere along the line, then you ended up at Oklahoma State. And throughout that time, you've always held positions of leadership. You've always held where you're doing something where you're influencing others. And so how has that upbringing helped shape you to be the man that you are, where you're constantly being able to lead and guide people in that way?
Yeah, that's a great question. My grandfather, as you mentioned, growing up on a farm, so my grandfather and father and I all worked together there when I was young. My grandfather has passed away now. My dad is still there full time.
Okay.
But when I was growing up, my grandpa would always say, Sean, the ducks and the geese have a leader. You need to be a leader. That everybody needs a leader.
Yeah.
From the time I was very small, I mean, he would just say this to me over and over and over. So it's really not something that I sought. I remember being in the 6th grade and we were kind of sitting in the gym and the teachers came in and said, hey, we need to select class officers, who's going to be the president. And everybody just said Sean, I mean, it's just kind of been that way my whole life.
Yeah.
When I got into college was when I really realized that I thought the Lord had given me a gifting around really creating a shared vision.
Yeah.
This happened within my fraternity. It happened within my college council. I just really found that I enjoyed getting a group of people on the same page and kind of moving. It's like being on a soccer team.
Yeah.
I mean, you're all going in the same direction, and that has really been the story of my life.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot, we're both in banking. I am not a great banker, okay? I am not a great credit person.
Yeah.
I would make every loan. I don't really like compliance. I mean, there's a lot of things about our industry that I don't like, but what I do like is taking 270 people and getting us around a shared vision and purpose and trying to change the world together. That's what I have found that the Lord has, the gifting he's really given me.
Wow. So you had that idea or that ability to rally the troops per se and to be able to help them. And so going back to your time at OSU, like I was reading the book, and in the book you talked about it, how on a whim you decided to go into banking. So walk me through that process of like, okay, yes, you made that decision. Yeah, I'm going to go into banking, and how it started to unfold after that.
So I was helping my dad on the farm, and we were working cattle. So for those of you that are familiar with that, it's not the most glamorous of jobs. And so we're vaccinating and doing all the stuff you got to do. And in the middle of it, he said, hey, I've been meaning to tell you, you need to go get a job. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, I was going to come back here. And he said, no, he said, I can bring you back here, but I can't really pay you what you need to make. And I'm like, well, I've been doing the free deal for 21 years, I don't want to do that anymore. And so I'm driving back to Stillwater, and I'm like, man, this is just great. I mean, I had no work experience. There is no internship when you're on a farm, no part-time job, no nothing. It's like you work on the farm. So I'm like, what am I going to do? Well, a couple of days later, Jim Halligan, who was our president there at OSU at the time, invited me to this Board of Regents dinner. We're sitting around the table. He says, he would always call me by my hometown because he couldn't remember my name. So he said, Mr. Beggs, I've been meaning to ask you. He said, what are you going to do whenever you graduate from college? And I was like, oh, man, I can't admit to these board members and everybody that I don't know what I'm going to do. I only have one semester left.
Yeah.
And so I started scrambling, and I looked to my left, and this guy had a nameplate in front of him that said, Bruce Benbrook, Chairman, Stock Exchange Bank, Woodward, Oklahoma. So I thought, well, that guy's got on a nice suit. He's on the board, so he must be a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And it just sounded good. So I said, actually, I said, I've been thinking about going into banking. And all the people around the table were like, well, we didn't know you were going into banking. And I said, oh, yeah. I said, it's a very recent career decision. And it was, ladies and gentlemen, it was very recent, about 10 seconds old. And so I bluffed my way through it. They're asking me all these questions about banking. I don't know jack diddly about banking. And so I bluffed my way through. And as I'm walking out, Dr. Halligan says, I didn't know you wanted to go into banking. He said, I've got a good friend that owns a group of banks in Oklahoma City. Maybe I can help you get an internship this summer.
Wow.
So I'm like, well, that'd be great. I mean, I'm desperate. So I run back to my fraternity, delete out my old farm and ranch professional objective, put in there financial services professional, run it over to his office fast as I can. And the chairman of MidFirst Bank calls me to come be an intern there. I loved it, and here we are all these years later. So, yeah.
But even in that, you could see how little did you know God was ordering your steps. Like, he needs to get into banking, but the way you got into it, hey, as long as you got into it, that's all that matters.
Right. Well, and honestly, now I look back at it, and I go, man, I would not have enjoyed the farm. I love people too much. People are what energize me.
Yeah.
And so if it's just me looking at cows all day, that was not going to be fulfilling at all. And so it is a huge blessing that the Lord did help me in that moment. I did pray to him like crazy, to please help me figure out what I was going to do, and he came through for me in a big, big way.
Wow. So internship at Mid-First Bank. And then from there, again, it's also in the book that you I think it was a CFO at 29?
COO.
COO at 29.
Yeah.
And then at that point, you kind of talked about what the job was requiring of you and how it started to pull you in different directions.
Yeah.
So kind of talk to me and that person that's in that position where they are doing the thing that God has called them to do, but they're feeling that they're feeling this contention between both sides. They still want to honor God and do what he's doing, but there's still a responsibility to their family, to God, that they need to make sure that's a priority.
Yeah. I was actually, it was worse than that. I was actually a COO at 24.
Oh, 24. Sorry.
And a bank president at 28, and then ultimately bought the bank Regent at 34. So,
Wow.
Everything happened very, very quickly and early for me.
Yeah.
But I went through a period of time where I was living based upon fear. And we'll talk about the miracle I know later that redeemed me and frankly healed me from that fear. But early in my career, everything I did was around self-preservation. Okay, so I would, in my mind, just to be very candid, which you told me to be, I looked super successful, okay? Had these big titles and at a very young age. But in my mind, I thought, I'm going to be a failure. I'm going to be a failure. People are going to realize I'm not as smart as they think I am. And I thought if I just got to the next level, it was going to make me secure, and it was worse. It was like the higher I went, the more scared I became.
Wow.
And so because of that, what I would do is just overwork. And I would get super involved in the community. So I was president of every organization in town, all because I thought, okay, if I'm the man, nobody can fire me. It wasn't a service heart. It was a fear heart was the reason I was doing it. Yeah. So, unfortunately, very early, that almost cost me my marriage. Angela and I, my wife is an executive, very successful, very, very bright. And I was going to all these meetings and doing a lot of things in the evenings, and she would remind me periodically, hey, I didn't sign up to be here by myself, and to be the house cleaner and the maid, that's not the deal. And I would apologize, and I'd do better for a couple of weeks. And then that fear would just, man, I got to go, I got to go to this meeting. They need me here. I'm so important that nothing can work without me type of deal. And then one day I came home, and she and my little daughter were in the car getting ready to leave. She was going to go to her mom's house.
Wow.
And it scared me to death. And so I begged her to stay. And in that moment, I thought, what in the world am I doing? What am I building a career for if I'm not going to have my family?
Yeah.
And so I instituted some boundaries. I really want to encourage everybody to do this. We all think we got to be available 24/7 to our customers or board or employees, and we really don't.
Yeah.
They really actually respect the fact that for me, at 6:30 at night, the phone is shut off, plugged in, put away, no more work, no texting, no calling. I focus on my family. I don't work very much on the weekends. I do typically start pretty early in the morning, which kind of helps me stay ahead.
Yeah.
But, I work at times when it doesn't impact my family. So that has been a huge lesson to me, is just kind of keep first things first. Yeah. Because when you get on, it's a slippery slope, and it really did almost cost me my marriage.
Wow. So even in the midst of all of that, where, like I said, you're walking in what God has called you to do, and you started to develop and set these boundaries to the point of, I'm just curious, to that person that might be in a similar situation right now, where their marriage is on a rocky bed right now, but they're also successful in life. To that person, what would be the thing that you would, let's say, go back in time and tell your younger self so that they don't make the same mistake?
Yeah, there's a lot of people like this. It's almost it's almost a given that if you're super successful in the business world, you have a challenge at home because it's very hard for people to balance these two.
Yeah.
And all I would say is it is possible. It is possible through the Lord, though. It's not going to be possible on your own. Just give you a real quick example. I remember years ago, I was invited, it's about 15, 16 years ago, I was invited to join a discipleship group. Okay. It's called The Journey.
Okay.
and the guy that invited me, I turned him down because I said, I just don't have any bandwidth. I can't. I'm too busy. I get too much stuff going on. And I remember this guy, his name was Frank Khalil. Frank said, hey, it occurs to me that people that don't have time for Jesus kind of have their priorities all messed up. And I said, man, you don't know me.
Yeah.
I said, you don't know. And he said, oh, I know people like you, and I think if you would just put Jesus central, you would find out that everything else will kind of fit. And so the Holy Spirit really convicted me, and I did end up joining this discipleship group. I learned an intimacy with Jesus that I never knew really could exist. And what happened is it was as if my life slowed down.
Wow.
It's very hard to explain this to people, but prior to abiding with Jesus, I felt like I was on this really fast track that I couldn't keep up with. And after, it was as if, it was almost like, playing soccer or football, or the more you play, the more the game slows down. That's how my life felt. Wow. It was like things just began to slow. So all of a sudden, I find myself leading a morning devotional, leading the Journey group, leading faith and business events, doing all this stuff, and it fits easily into my life.
Yes.
Whereas before I didn't think I could do one thing.
Yeah.
And so if you will just, to my younger self, if you will just abide in an intimate relationship with Jesus and follow, just like we were talking about earlier, follow that guiding and that voice, everything else fits.
Wow.
Similarly, let me just add, and I may be getting ahead of myself here, but let me just say this. The Lord gave me an epiphany. It hasn't been this long ago. It might have been a couple of years ago, that every breakthrough in my life, He brought to me. Okay? So I had lived this life of striving, got to work harder, got to make more sales calls, got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. And I just had this epiphany one morning in prayer where the Lord showed me all of the key breakthroughs in my life. I didn't go get those.
Wow.
None of them. They all came to me because of Him.
Yep.
So a lot of times I think we press and strive and maybe even rush God when maybe things aren't time yet. I mean, we just need to kind of step back and listen and obey, and it's amazing how everything kind of works out.
He's, like the Bible talks about, when Jesus talks about it in the Word, He said, my Father's always working. Even when there's things that you don't see, He's always doing something behind the scenes to make sure that the word that He spoke, because it says it won't return to Him void, it will do what it was sent to do. And so to make sure that word is accomplished. Yeah. And so it's a blessing to see like how you talked about it. You got this revelation. And so kind of moving or fast forward a little bit, talk to me about the great year of 2020 or 2008. What happened there, and like to see where the bank is today, but then knowing that there were some hills, but there were also some valleys too as well. Yeah. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. Great would not be the adjective I would use to describe it. So, guys, let me kind of set the stage. So, we have an opportunity to buy this little bank, okay, up in Nowata, Oklahoma, Regent Bank. Yeah. And they're friends of mine, and so anyway, the opportunity presents itself. We thought we did a good job of due diligence. The Lord blessed me with the ability to go out and raise the capital to buy the bank. Okay. We buy the bank on April Fool's Day of 2008. Yeah. We had about 5 or 6 good months, and then in the fall of 2008 is when the great financial crisis hit, the mortgage crisis, and we didn't have mortgages, but the whole economy just shut down. I was actually just explaining this to a group of students yesterday how emotional the economy is. And when people began to have fear and they don't think the future is going to be brighter, they just stop spending. And so we had tons of loans start to go bad. Okay, tons of them. So we start to lose a lot of money. And so if you fast forward to February the 15th of 2009,
Okay.
I'm in church, a church that I helped to found kind of unintentionally. It was a Bible study that grew to enormous proportions, turned into a church. I'm in the front row. The band is singing the song Healer by Carrie Job.
Okay.
I believe you're my healer. I believe you're more than enough for me. I am sitting there thinking, this is the biggest bunch of baloney that I have ever heard, because here was my life, okay? The bank had lost so much money. We were $3 million below the minimum capital level. Regulators were going to shut us down at the end of the quarter when we turned in our call report.
Yep.
I had called all of my investors, and either they hadn't answered the phone or they had told me no, they wouldn't invest any additional money.
Yeah.
Angela and I had put everything into the bank. We had nothing. We were broke. I hadn't taken a paycheck in 6 months. Her job moved to Houston with Citgo Petroleum, so she's unemployed.
Wow.
And what she doesn't know, as we sat there side by side and singing this hymn, is that we don't even have enough money to pay the mortgage payment that is due on Thursday, and it's Sunday. Wow. Okay? I was as low as you could go. I mean, I will be honest. I was at a point where I would drive by bridges and think, what if I just had an accident and, I got a ton of life insurance.
Yeah.
That'll fix all the problems. I mean, I was
bottom.
kind of there.
Yeah.
And in that moment, as I am saying, this is a bunch of baloney, I heard the Lord say, if you believe, I will be your healer. And I was raised Baptist, okay? That's not normal.
Yeah.
That's not normal. The Holy Ghost was a little scary to us, but it was so real that I lost it. So I'm in the front row. I can't stop crying. I basically just say, Lord, you are my only hope. Literally, in the world, without a miracle, we go under, we go bankrupt, all my greatest fears are coming true, and so that's that. Later in the week, 2 or 3 days later, I'm up at the bank we bought in Nowata. We are taking out Sandy, one of my employees who still works for us, is walking out the door with this stack of letters, and it says, $3 million or bust. Hey, I know you guys all told me no. This is going to our shareholders.
Okay.
I know you all told me no. But here's a certified letter because you need to understand the consequences here. So she's walking out the door with those letters. To my right and to my left, the phone rings, and Arlene says, Sean, you have a phone call from the U.S. Treasury Department. And I think, well, that's it.
Yeah.
That's all she wrote. So I yell out to Sandy before she gets to the door, and I'm like, hey, you might as well bring those letters back. It's too late.
Yeah.
She brings the letters back. She's crying. I walk in my office, pick up the phone, and this lady says, Mr. Kouplen, this is Lisa Taylor with the U.S. Treasury Department. How are you today? And I said, well, Lisa, I said, it kind of depends on how this phone call goes, and she thought that was so funny. And I'm like, this is not funny. I mean, like, this is my whole life here. And she said, well, Mr. Kouplen, the reason I'm calling today is you may not be interested in this, but she said, Regent Bank has been chosen for our capital purchase program, and I've been authorized to offer you an investment of $3 million from the U.S. Treasury Department.
Wow.
And the program, you had 9 years to pay the money back. It was 1% interest. It was preferred stock, but it basically was 1% yield. No board seat, no dilution. The money was wired in that day, and the bank was healed, and my life was healed. Wow. And what's so funny is I was in shock. And so after we kind of got through this part of the conversation, this lady goes, I'll never forget, she said, Mr. Kouplen, she said, all I have to say is you must know somebody really high up because banks like yours do not get this money.
Wow.
And I said, well, Miss Taylor, I said, I do, but I don't think it's who you think. I know. And so in that moment, my whole life changed. Okay. And two things happened. One, all that fear that I had all those years went away.
Wow.
I've not had it. It will be 18 years. It was 18 years, 9 days ago when this occurred. And I've not. In fact, my board and executive team actually wish I had some fear. You know, they're like, good night, man.
Yeah.
We can't do all this stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't. I mean, the Lord just took it away.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened was I got on both knees in my office and I said, Lord, this is your company.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't be here without you. I can't believe that you saved me. I'm going to every morning ask you what to do.
Yeah.
And if you will just tell me, I will run the bank according to your wishes. I will do everything you ask me to do.
Yeah.
And so that has led to the craziness that has ensued, 30X growth, daily devotionals, prayer team, faith and business events, 94X. I mean, all the stuff has just come out of these morning, I call them, it's our staff meeting.
Yeah.
Where 5 a.m. in the morning, I grab a cup of coffee, I'm in the recliner, and I basically just go, okay, boss, please tell me what to do today. And that's how it runs.
Wow. That is so incredible to see, like, all God needed was you to believe. And because of your belief, that was on a Sunday. And then a couple days later, you had that call from the U.S. Treasury to come through. God knew exactly how to get the money to you. He just needed a willing heart that would trust him.
Yes.
And to see, like, when you did, things happened just like that.
And Devon, I would say this too, because as you can imagine, I promised the Lord I would share this story as often as I could. So I've been able to share it all over the world.
Yeah.
When I do, I have learned that this is actually a very real pattern with God. And it's a very similar, it's very akin to the life of Joseph. Okay, so if you think about it, he took him all the way, from the pit to the palace.
Yeah.
And I have learned that God does this a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are out there somewhere and you are at the bottom, I am telling you, there is a biblical principle that is not going to stay.
Yeah.
There is a biblical principle here where the Lord will take, and it's when he wants to do something really big in your life.
Yeah.
He will take you to the bedrock, like he did with me, as low as I could go, where I had to put all my dependence and faith on him, where there was no other option, literally no other way for us to survive except for him. And then he builds you back up. Yeah. I mean, I've heard it so many times. I could spend hours telling you these stories that people have shared with me. So don't, it may feel like you are in despair right now, but know that you are just one God action away from everything turning. Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm proof. I am proof. I should be out here on I-44 picking up trash in an orange jumpsuit and not Oklahoma State orange. That's what I should be doing, not running a multi-billion-dollar best place to work, fastest growing bank in the world, but all the stuff. I mean, I don't deserve that. The Lord just chose to do that with me.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
man, so even just thinking about, like, now you guys, since that moment you decided, like, okay, God, this is your company. And so from there, you guys have started all these different initiatives, but ultimately the end goal is to be able to show Christ to other people. And so what does it look like from someone that doesn't know they have businesses, but they want to involve their faith in their work? They don't want to separate the two. So what does that look like for someone wanting to take that step?
So first of all, let me share with your viewers that there is a Hebrew word. I want to encourage them to do a search around a Hebrew word that's pronounced many different ways, but I pronounce it Avodah, A-V-O-D-A-H. Okay. And this is a word that is used in 3 very prolific scriptures. And in one, it's used as work. In one, it's used as worship. And in one, it's used as service. Okay, this is not hard to find. And the reason that I believe that same word was used for all 3 is because I believe that we have been doing work all wrong. I believe that if you go back to the New Testament church, it all was together. Everything was together. And what we have done, and this wasn't some grand plan, by the way. Okay,
Yeah.
all this was one day at a time, going, Jesus, tell me what to do today. You're the CEO. I work for you. What do I do?
Yeah.
And it was this series of petrifying instructions that he gave me. Start a daily devotional. Petrifying.
Yeah.
I thought it was illegal. I didn't think you could do it.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to that in a moment. Petrifying. Start a faith and business event.
Yeah.
What if nobody comes? Petrifying. Start a prayer team. Other people in your organization want to pray. How in the world do I do that? I mean,
Yeah.
all of these things are, and then ultimately start a faith at work movement. These are all just kind of little micro, obedience steps
Yeah.
that have turned into what looked like this grand plan, that I made some big decision that we were going to turn the organization over to Jesus.
Yeah.
It really wasn't that. It really was just a series of just trying to obey.
Yeah.
Having said that, though, let me tell you some things that I have learned. One is it's easier than you think it is. So it's just a very small step, and the Lord will take it from there.
Yeah.
Quick example. I'm not going to say which one, but at a local chamber of commerce, a young lady reached out to me and said, I really want to bring my faith in, but I don't know if our CEO is a believer. I'm not sure that he would approve of that. And I said, why don't you do this? I said, just go find a visible location, find a couple. I said, you have some friends there that are believers with you? Oh, yeah, I have several. You guys just start a visible Bible study in a conference room where other people can see you. Okay. I said, just do that. That's all. You don't have to invite anybody. You don't have to do anything like that. Today, 93% of the employees go to that Bible study.
Wow.
Okay? Wow. The Lord will take it. You don't have to have some grand plan. You just have to do a little bit of obedience, a prayer team or a Bible study, or in my case, a daily devotional. Yeah. You also can do this all legally if you don't force somebody to do it. You can offer all day long. So this is very important, guys, to understand. And this is very, very clear in federal law, it is okay to offer prayer in a workplace. It's okay to invite people into a prayer team or a Bible study or, any type of a spiritual activity, but you have to, it has to be voluntary. Yeah. And if you offer it for a Christian ministry, then if somebody wants to do the same thing for Muslim, Jewish, etc., you have to allow that. Yeah. You can't discriminate, which is fine with me. Yeah. We're not trying to be exclusive. I just want the right to practice my faith in my business and offer that to other people. Yeah. So when you do that, now we've never had anybody else want to do those types of things. Right. We've never had any lawsuits. We've never had any issue. We have multiple different beliefs within our company. Yeah. And it doesn't feel weird. We're not baptizing in the middle of the lobby or anointing with oil at the new accounts desk. I mean, we're not doing that stuff. It just feels like love is what it feels like. It feels like, hey, I can see you're struggling today. Can I pray with you? Yeah. That's what it feels like. It feels like, in fact, we had, and then I'll stop my very long-winded answer, but you got me on my, I'm very passionate about this.
No, you're good.
We had a couple months ago, we had a new employee orientation. And we probably had 10 employees that we had hired over the quarter, and they're all in the boardroom, and they're going around and telling their stories. And this lady says, Sean, I just have to tell you, she said, I have been working for 34 years, and this is the first time I have ever felt loved at work. Okay? Wow. So I was like, man, I appreciate that. I said, that is the goal. I said, that is the goal. The lady next to her said, well, I'll one-up you. She said, I've been alive for 57 years, and this is the first time in my life I've ever felt loved, period. Wow. In my whole life, this is the first time anybody's ever loved me. Wow. So I'm like, man, and we have had I've had 42 people accept Jesus in my office.
Wow.
I've had multiple people that were atheists accept Jesus.
Yeah.
We've had multiple people just watch what we are doing and that we are just loving. We're not forcing.
Yeah.
I'm not thumping the Bible in
Yeah,
your face.
exactly.
Come back to faith.
Yeah.
I mean, it is wild. We've had multiple miracles through our prayer team.
Yeah.
I had a situation about 2 months ago. I was speaking down in Destin, Florida,
Okay.
and kind of talking about this.
Yeah, yeah.
And a guy comes up at the end, and he is just crying. He's from Seattle, Washington.
Okay.
2 months earlier, had gotten word that his son had blood cancer in his blood, and was it was incurable.
Mm-hmm.
He's 2 years old, had no more than 2 years to live.
Wow.
His nanny had gone to Oral Roberts University and said, you need to turn this prayer request into the Regent Bank prayer team. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she said, this is a quote. She said, everybody in Tulsa knows that if you want a miracle, you need to go to this prayer team. He sends it in.
Yeah.
We get hundreds of these, by the
Yeah.
way. But this one just hit me because I have a baby boy.
Yeah.
You know, he's bigger than me, but he's still my baby. So I remember getting this and going, oh, man. And we prayed like crazy for that little boy.
Yeah.
And he was there to tell me that 2 days earlier, he had gotten a clear report.
Wow.
No
Praise
cancer.
God.
And he was just, bawling, crying. He didn't know I was going to be there.
Yep.
I didn't know him. I mean, it was just the Lord at work. So
Yeah.
it is magical. So do not, Joshua 1:9 says, I gave you a spirit of confidence, not of fear.
Yep.
And don't be afraid,
Yeah.
everybody. I'm telling you, stop living in fear. That is the enemy.
Yeah.
That is not from the Lord. When he calls you to do something, step out. It's fine.
Wow.
Worst thing that's going to happen, you have a Bible study and nobody shows up.
At least you get
okay?
to spend time with God.
Exactly. Do the study. So,
Well, Mr. Kouplen, one way we always like to wrap up every episode. If you can go back to your younger self, or you can give your younger self any piece of advice, or our listeners that's watching this, what would you tell them as a parting word?
man, mine would have to be a novel because I was so wrong in so many things, okay? I thought title, money, success, being known,
Yeah.
power, whatever that is, which is total myth. Power was the answer to life.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my goal. I wanted to get to the top as quick as I could and make as much money as I could. I was never going to be broke like we were on the farm.
Yeah.
I mean, there were just all of these things, and that's a lie.
Yeah.
I did all that. I mean, I've done all that. I've had all the titles. I've had the money. You know, senior governmental position. Everybody knew who I was. I mean, all the stuff, and it is empty without the Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, that when I learned to abide with Jesus daily, I just cannot tell you how much that changed my life. I just cannot articulate it.
Yeah.
I have to share real quick a very recent experience
Yeah,
too,
go for
if
it.
I could.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is very intimate, but I can see this how you roll.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I got healed of the fear issue back in 2009. But what I didn't get healed from was this desire to be a people pleaser. Okay, so this is a very long story, but just in a couple of minutes here, a friend of mine noticed that I was kind of trying to be all things to all people all the time. And he's a pastor, and he just said, Sean, your influence is growing to a point to where you can't do that. You're going to have a nervous breakdown. You can't say yes to everything all the time. Why are you driven like that?
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know, Pastor Rich. I said, I'm not sure why, but I said, it has been the bane of my existence, my whole life. It's hard for me to have difficult conversations. I can't take criticism very well from people that I really care about. You know, my wife, my board. You know, I'm just struggling in all of these areas. I just want everybody to be so happy all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and he said, I can fix that. And I said, I will pay any amount of money and any amount of time if you can fix it. And he did. And the way that he did is he taught me that what I was seeking, there's a book called The Blessing, okay? And I read this book, and he taught me that what I was seeking was, remember when Jesus was baptized?
Yeah.
And the words of God after that.
Yep.
He said, this is my son,
Who I'm well pleased.
in whom I am well pleased. That's what we want. Okay, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to hear. Very few of us hear that. Okay, and it may because, and it's particularly with dads and fathers, it may because your dad was busy or he wasn't around or he was critical, you know, or whatever the case may be. So I had gone my whole life seeking that.
Wow.
Okay, and he told me, he said, Sean, if you could just feel the Father's love, it would change everything. If you could just feel it, you won't need everybody else's approval.
Yeah.
So we went through a very intensive, we called it coaching, but it was really counseling and process. And I had to learn to forgive others, forgive myself, renounce judgments that I'd made toward others, renounce vows that I'd made, or I will never do this. I will always do this, you know, break some ties that I had in former relationships. And then at the very end, and I just want to share this because I think it will be so powerful for your viewers. The very last exercise was, he said, I want you to go back to the most painful moment in your childhood. Okay, under 10 years of age. Okay. Go back to the most painful moment. And he said, the Holy Spirit will take you back there. Yeah. And man, the Holy Spirit did. I was there. I mean, I was immersed in this moment. And he said, how does that little boy feel right now? And I said, well, I am terrified. Yeah. I feel small. I feel weak. I wish I had never been born. You know, they were telling me they wish I had never been born, you know, and he goes, oh man, that's tough. He said, where is God in all of this? So I go back there and I feel the presence of God. And I said, he was with me. And he said, well, what does he think about what's going on? And I said, well, he hates it. I mean, he hates this. He didn't want to see me hurting. And he said, well, what does God say to that little boy? Yeah. And I am there, and I don't hear God say anything, right? But I feel this most unbelievable embrace. Wow. I have tried to describe this, and I cannot. I do not have the words, but it was the most unconditional, deepest embrace I've ever felt in my life. I cried for an hour. Wow. I mean, I just couldn't stop. And he was right. Yeah. Once I felt that touch, now I have my board review in approximately 17 minutes, okay? So I'm going to go in, and they're going to tell me all the things that I did wrong this year, you know? And that used to just tear me up. Yeah. I don't care. Yeah. I don't care. Mine's all about, and what happens is, and I'll close, but what happens is, when we're young, we build these walls around our heart when we're hurt. Yeah. Okay. Yep. And as we go through life, people hurt us and they do us wrong and they, you know, overcommit and underdeliver and lie and all this stuff. And so that wall just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So what we had to do was we just had to chip away at that stone wall. And when it finally broke, the Lord was able to touch me in a way that I had never felt in my life. And this is only 3 or 4 months ago. Wow. Okay, I mean, this is very recent. First time I've ever gone public about it right here. Yeah. But it was a game changer. Seek that, everybody. Seek that. Yeah. This other stuff, man, I'm telling you, it's fleeting. It's disappointing. Yeah. It's not what you think it is. Yeah. That is real.
Wow. Sean Kouplen, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Kouplen, thank you so much for taking some time out of the day just to share your story. And I mean, I'm just sitting here just taking this all in, and I'm just amazed at what God has done throughout your life, and to see like what He's going to continue to do as you're continuing to be obedient. Doors would open, like you said. You didn't do anything to cause these breakthroughs to come. They just came just because God's a good father and He wants to bless His children.
Amen.
And so I'm so grateful that you took some time out to just kind of spend with me on this couch and share your heart, man. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Absolutely.
Pleasure.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to wrap this episode up. But like I said in the beginning, hey, if you were blessed by this content, go ahead and like, subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you are aware when new episodes are released. And then secondly, if you want to partner with this ministry, you can follow the link below, and it'll take you to our website. You can partner with us there to help us take these stories of faith around the world to the people that need them. And then lastly, like I said, if there's something that's going on in your life, we would love to know. Reach out to us, send us an email, reach out to us on social media, drop a comment below so we are aware of what's going on, and we can be able to start praying and believing with you for whatever it is that you're asking the Lord for. And so, like I said, we're going to have to sign off for today, but this has been Faith Ignite, and we'll see you guys next time. God bless you.